Cancer, if you paused right here, it isn't because of a passing curiosity. Something familiar has just brushed against you, very gently, from the inside. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet, unusual feeling, as if a part of you has known this for a very long time. All this time, you've been living, loving, enduring. But deep beneath the surface, a part of you has been silently watching, waiting for the moment you became steady enough to stop losing yourself for the sake of others. Waiting for the moment your heart grew calm enough to carry a power that once had to stay locked away. Cancer's awakening doesn't arrive like a shock. It feels more like an old memory being gently reopened, right in the center of your chest. And when that moment happens, you stop asking, why? If lately you've sensed that quiet inner shift, that subtle movement you can't quite explain, then what comes next will help you understand exactly what is beginning to turn on inside of you. For Cancer, the reason your power was once locked away was never because you were weak, but because you felt too deeply. From early on, you moved through this world with a heart more open than most. You heard what others overlooked. You sensed the smallest shifts in emotion, in atmosphere, in a single look. That sensitivity was both a gift and a challenge. Because before you were steady enough, if that power had opened too soon, it wouldn't have lifted you. It would have crushed you from the inside out. So life didn't rush to hand you that power. Instead, it gave you quiet lessons, long seasons, moments that felt exhausting, and times when you wondered why you seemed to carry more than others. You had to learn how to protect your heart without sealing it shut, how to love without dissolving yourself, how to care without losing your boundaries. There were times you put everyone else first, believing that if you endured enough, everything would stay peaceful. But it was in those moments that a deeper truth began to surface. Real safety doesn't come from being accepted. It doesn't come from pleasing everyone. And it doesn't come from sacrificing yourself to keep the peace. True safety begins the moment you can sit with your own emotions, without running from them, without denying them, without needing anyone else to validate what you feel. Those periods that seemed stagnant, those winding paths, those relationships that came and went, were all shaping something essential inside you. The ability to stand steady within yourself, even when everything outside keeps changing. Cancer had to learn how to listen to emotion without being ruled by it, how to feel pain without letting it define your identity, how to stay with yourself in silence, where no one sees, no one applauds, no one comforts. And it was in those very quiet places that a solid foundation slowly formed. Your power remained locked because for a long time, you were still searching for safety outside yourself, in a promise, in a relationship, in a role, in a position that made you feel valuable. When those supports wavered, you wavered too. Your energy field simply wasn't stable enough yet to hold something so ancient, so deep. Not because you were unworthy, but because you needed time to realize that the safest place has always been inside you. The moment you stopped clinging to fragile anchors, you began to become the anchor. That long waiting period wasn't fate delaying you. It was protection, subtle and precise. Life quietly slowed your pace so you could grow from the inside out. Each time your heart cracked, it didn't break. It expanded. Each time you had to let go of something familiar, you didn't lose anything. You reclaimed a piece of power you had once given away to the wrong place. Gradually, you stopped needing reassurance that you were okay. You could feel the stability in your breath, in your presence, in the way small disruptions no longer sent you into panic. And when your energy field became steady, when emotion no longer pulled you away from yourself, when sensitivity transformed into insight, that's when the door began to open. The power returned quietly. No announcement. No fanfare. It came back like water finding its old riverbed again, familiar and somehow new. And suddenly, everything you lived through made sense. No year was wasted. No pain was meaningless. If you slow down long enough now, you can feel the change. A deeper sense of inner steadiness. A calm that doesn't require effort. A quiet knowing that you're ready for something greater, not to prove anything, but because you finally feel safe enough to carry it. And once that current begins to move, it doesn't stay contained inside you. It flows outward, into the way you connect, the way you choose, the way you move forward. From here on, the story no longer centers on what you endured. It begins to whisper about what is slowly awakening, quietly yet unmistakably, within you. When inner stability begins to settle in, very subtle signs start to reveal themselves, not to draw attention, but to be recognized. For Cancer, this activation doesn't begin in the mind, it begins in the body. At times, you may feel a gentle pressure in the chest, or a slow warmth spreading outward. Not emotion, not anxiety, not connected to any story playing out around you. It arrives like a quiet current, causing you to pause for a moment and wonder why this sensation feels so familiar. This isn't a sign of imbalance. It's the moment your energy field begins adjusting to its own natural rhythm again, like an instrument that hasn't been tuned in a long time, finally returning to its true pitch. At the same time, your intuition changes the way it operates. Long internal debates fade. The hesitation between right and wrong softens. A calm clarity appears, one that doesn't need explanation or justification. You know when to stop. You know when to move forward. You know when silence is the right choice. This doesn't make you harder. It makes you steadier. You no longer question whether you're being too much because inside, there's now a strong enough anchor to keep you from being pulled off course by other people's emotions. At times, unfamiliar memories surface, not as clear images, but as waves of recognition. Déjà vu becomes deeper, less fleeting, as if you've remembered something you never lived in this lifetime. A path, a decision, a sense of familiarity with experiences you haven't had. This isn't imagination. It's the meeting point between the present moment and older layers of memory, where the soul once carried wisdom the conscious mind couldn't retain. Your emotional landscape shifts as well. Feelings grow deeper, but they no longer overflow. You still feel, you still resonate, but you're no longer swept away. Reactions that once came automatically begin to quiet down, making space for clarity. You no longer need to react to prove that you care. You no longer need to explain yourself to be understood. A new kind of composure forms, and you realize something important. Strength doesn't come from intensity. It comes from full presence. Then there's a very specific moment, one many people miss, when you suddenly notice you no longer feel small. Not because you're greater than anyone else, but because you've stopped shrinking in the face of the world. You stand in your own space naturally, without armor, without retreat. Things that once made you hesitate now register as information, not threats. You're still gentle, still sensitive, but no longer easily wounded. That softness now moves alongside a steady inner axis. None of these signs are random, and they aren't temporary emotional highs. This is your energy field reorganizing itself, realigning to match the frequency you now carry. What no longer resonates begins to fall away on its own. What does resonate draws closer without effort. You may notice the rhythm of life around you changing. Conversations grow simpler. Relationships become clearer. Not because you're becoming rigid, but because you're no longer broadcasting a scattered signal. When you listen closely enough, you realize all of these shifts point toward something deeply human. The ability to live true to your nature without fighting the world. Cancer's sensitivity is no longer a weakness to hide. It becomes a form of emotional intelligence, one that can heal not only you, but those around you. Your presence begins to offer safety, not because of anything you do, but because you're no longer at odds with yourself. And as you move forward with that steadiness, what once worked quietly inside you starts to flow outward, touching the way you connect, the way you choose, the way you listen to life itself. This current doesn't rush you. It doesn't demand. It gently guides you toward another familiar feeling where you begin to understand that the change isn't happening only within you. It's slowly reshaping how you walk through the world, with a deeper clarity and a very quiet, very steady trust. And it is slowly reshaping the way you walk through the world, with a deeper clarity and a very quiet sense of trust. From that calm place, the challenges begin to appear. Not loudly, not dramatically, but clearly enough that returning to your old rhythm is no longer possible. Cancer may feel as if you're moving more slowly than everyone else, when in truth, You've simply stepped out of a current you've been following for a very long time. The world around you continues at its familiar pace. The same conversations, the same habits, the same relationships that once felt safe. And suddenly, they no longer fit. Not because they're wrong, but because you're no longer tuned to the same frequency. There are moments when you find yourself standing in a crowded room, yet feeling strangely distant. Not lonely, just out of sync. Things you once worked hard to blend into now feel heavy, forced. You don't feel the need to explain yourself anymore. You don't feel compelled to smooth everything over by shrinking yourself. At first, this misalignment can feel confusing, even unsettling, like losing a familiar map. But if you pause long enough, you'll realize it isn't disorientation. It's the sign that you've stopped walking the same worn path. Relationships begin to shift in very real ways. People who once made you feel protected may now make you feel uneasy. Not because they've changed for the worse, but because you no longer need to lean on them to feel safe. Connections built on emotional dependence start to loosen. That can bring sadness, even pain. Yet beneath it all, there's a quiet sense of release. You're learning how to stand within yourself, rather than standing through someone else's presence. At the same time, life seems to speed up without you asking it to. Decisions arrive faster. Situations demand answers sooner. You may feel as if you're being nudged forward, while your mind still wants to slow down and make sense of everything. But this movement isn't forceful. It's like a river changing seasons, flowing stronger because it's finally found a clear direction. You don't have to swim against it. You only have to learn how to stay balanced. There are moments when you face choices you once would have debated for weeks. Now, something deep inside already knows the answer, even if your logic hasn't caught up yet. That can feel uncomfortable, especially for Cancer, who's used to weighing every angle, protecting every side. But this time, the choice isn't about who will be satisfied. It's about what allows you to stay true to yourself. And that is a powerful step in your growth. These challenges aren't here to make you doubt your path. They exist to separate you from the old layers that have already served their purpose. Every moment of misalignment is a reminder that you no longer belong to who you used to be. Every relationship that wavers is an invitation to redefine your boundaries. Every acceleration in pace is a signal that the current is ready to carry you further. And every new choice is a quiet declaration that your soul is finding its rightful place in this life. Looking back, you will see this isn't a season of loss. It's a season of reclaiming your energy, reclaiming your identity, reclaiming the right to live at your own rhythm. And through that process, something subtle yet powerful is taking shape. You're no longer just passing through life to survive. You're beginning to inhabit it with a different depth. A place where what once awakened within you is learning how to meet the world, step by step, honestly, and with a quiet, unshakable strength. Where what once awakened within you is learning how to meet the world, step by step, honestly, and with quiet strength. And as that integration begins, you slowly realize something important. This power was never meant to impress. It doesn't need spotlights. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need to be named. Its nature is quiet, like the ocean setting the rhythm for the shore without ever making a sound. Cancer carries a force like that. Deep, steady, unshowy, yet strong enough to calm what's chaotic. The first thing restored isn't a specific memory. It's the feeling of remembering who you are. An ancient familiarity returns, and you begin to see that the right choices are rarely brand new. They're often things you once knew, then forgot while trying to adapt to the world around you. As soul memory comes back online, you stop searching for yourself. You start recognizing yourself in very ordinary moments. In the way you listen, in the way you sit in stillness, in the way you no longer strain to prove your worth. Along with that remembering, the energy around you begins to shift. Not in a strange or mystical way, but in a very grounded one. When you enter a space, its rhythm seems to slow. Conversations soften. Urgent emotions settle. You don't do anything special. You simply show up as yourself. And that presence creates a point of balance others feel instinctively. You become a place where people can exhale, even if they can't name what's happening. There are moments when you notice people aren't drawn to you for advice. They come just to sit nearby, to be in a space without judgment, without pressure to be strong or okay right away. You become an emotional anchor naturally, not because you carry their pain, but because you're not afraid to be near it. The steadiness you built inside now moves outward, creating a sense of safety this world quietly needs. Then something even more subtle reveals itself. You realize you're leading, without trying to. Not through long explanations, not through loud lessons, but through the way you live, the way you choose silence when it's needed, the way you leave when something no longer aligns, the way you hold compassion without sacrificing yourself. Others observe this, sometimes without awareness, and they learn that another way of living exists. Slower, deeper, more honest. You don't need to convince anyone to follow you. You don't need to explain your path. The calm you carry is already a clear signal. It tells the world that strength doesn't have to be loud, that healing doesn't need performance, that guidance doesn't require standing in front. Sometimes, one person standing steady is enough for the entire space around them to begin adjusting on its own. And as you continue walking with that steadiness, what's moving inside you keeps refining itself. Not to turn you into someone else, but to help you become more fully who you are. This current continues, soft, deep, carrying you toward a familiar feeling. A place where you no longer ask what this power is for. You simply feel how it's guiding you to live truthfully, to live fully, and to live in service to the world, in the quiet, distinct way that belongs to Cancer alone. In the quiet, distinct way that belongs to Cancer alone. And once you've reached this point, you can feel something clearly different from before. There's no longer the urge to try harder, no longer the pressure to prove that you're growing or that you're on the right path. What's being asked of you now isn't action, it's presence. To hold what has awakened and give it enough space to root itself into real life, into the body, into each slow, honest breath. Cancer begins to understand that power only truly stays when it's anchored, when you bring your attention back to your body, to the feeling of your feet touching the ground, to the steady rhythm of your breathing, to the small pauses woven into your day. This anchoring isn't ritual. It's practical. It's human. It lives in allowing yourself to slow down, to eat more simply, to sleep more deeply, to listen to subtle signals you once ignored because you were too busy caring for everyone else. At the same time, the need for quiet becomes unmistakable. Not silence as escape, but quiet as protection. A way to keep your energy field from scattering. You start choosing more carefully what sounds, what stories, what conversations are allowed into your life. Loud spaces begin to feel overwhelming. Relationships that constantly pull you away from yourself grow uncomfortable. This doesn't make you distant. It makes you honest about what you need to preserve the stability you worked so hard to build. That discernment extends to people and environments. You realize not everyone needs to stay, and not every place belongs in your new frequency. Some relationships that were once close now only need respect, not intimacy. Some spaces that once felt familiar no longer nourish you. Letting go of these things doesn't hurt the way it used to, because you no longer see it as loss. You see it as protecting your wholeness. Through all of this, intuition becomes your natural rhythm. You don't need to seek endless opinions. You don't need to analyze every possible outcome. A clear sense of right and wrong emerges, soft, but steady. When you trust this rhythm, you don't feel reckless. You feel guided. Decisions no longer carry tension. They carry the calm of someone who knows where they stand. And when this stability is held long enough, something beautiful begins to happen. You no longer have to bend yourself to fit the flow of life. Life starts adjusting around you. What's aligned finds you more easily. What's no longer compatible moves away without struggle. The outer rhythm seems to respect your inner rhythm, as if everything is learning to slow down to meet the steadiness you carry. You don't have to make this happen. You only need to remain where you are, holding the frequency that has awakened. In that quiet steadiness, you stop chasing life and become a real point of grounding within its movement. And from that grounding, the path ahead opens. Not loudly, not urgently, but clearly, gently, with compassion. Enough for you to keep walking forward with a deep, settled trust that you are living rightly, living fully, and living in alignment with the true nature of Cancer.